Hi guys, my name is Dr. Trent Hippard. I am a corrective care chiropractor and a certified wellness lifestyle practitioner. This event that I'm recording for you is called The 3 Secrets to Accelerate Fat Loss and Keep It Off. Now, if any of this information is valuable to you, I have a favor for you to do for me. I want you to share this information out to your family, your friends, people that you care about that needs to hear this information. So as I go along, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'll have my information at the end I can share to you, and you can directly message me or get a hold of me, and I can answer any and all of your questions that you may have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the 3 secrets to accelerate fat loss and keep it off. So first off, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in the health and fitness industry for over 20 years. Half of that is private practice. I've also have coached people as a personal trainer to meet their fat loss goals. And also I had my own personal experience in fat loss and challenges when I was 11. Most of my young life, I was picked on for being overweight, accused of being lazy, and I ended up getting sick and tired of hearing that and decided to start my own journey in fitness and health when I was 11. So I've been working out, training since I've been 11, and currently I am 35 going on 36. So I bring some experience and some knowledge and wisdom in this area and arena. Also, we run a Life by Design office. This is my wife and myself and our fur baby, as you will, Eugene. This office focuses on core problems with health and the structure of the spine. It's not a traditional chiropractic office that would focus on what we call collateral problems with symptoms. We focus on your health and how the structure of your spine is impacting your health in ways you may notice or feel, but more likely in ways you have no idea about. I'm also a certified wellness lifestyle practitioner. What that means is this helps me and equips me to implement strategies that we know are based off of sound evidence from research and literature to get people the best results as fast as possible. So let's talk about, is this any of these things pertain to you? Have you lost weight yet felt worse? Maybe you're frustrated with the lack of results at the gym. After losing weight, maybe you still were at health risks with your associated BMI. Maybe you wanted to get lean and mean, that shredded or that ripped, or having troubles to do that. Or maybe you were when you were in your 20s and you're having a hard time now in your 30s or 40s. Or maybe you just want to be as healthy as possible and really maximize having a disease-free life. I also want to note here, as you see this picture here, that these are both the same people that weigh the same, but their body fat percentage is totally different. That's why we want to focus on fat loss, not necessarily weight loss. So I want to ask you, what you're currently doing for yourself, how is that working for you? How is your body composition, like we talked about? What about your skin? What about your energy levels? What about poor digestion? Do you have mood swings? Are you on multiple medications and you don't want to be? Maybe your sex life sucks. Or maybe you're overweight and you don't want any of those things. Is that you, or any of those things resemble anything for you? Or maybe, have you thought of it this way, that being a poor role model for your kids? What's interesting is children, by the age 5, their personalities are already set. And in that, their personalities are actually formed from watching you, mom and dad, or a caretaker, and it's heavily influenced based off of your lifestyle habits. So answer this question: what are you teaching your kids? What habits or behaviors, whether it's intentional or non-intentional? Maybe you lost confidence in your own body. It may not even be that, you're 20 pounds heavier. It may not even be that. Maybe it's just you're gaining and storing fat in areas of your body that makes you feel self-conscious, or you avoid situations because of that. The pool, or going to an event and you'd have to wear a really nice formal dress or outfit that just doesn't make you feel like you want. Or maybe this is you want to be respected again because nobody is taking you serious. You have a bunch of insight and wisdom, but it seems that nobody takes your advice seriously. Now, the common stereotype for people who are overweight or obese is that they're lazy. And that's not necessarily the full story. Most of the time, from what I've seen, is people who are overweight or obese is they're lacking a motivation, a purpose, or even a drive to be healthy and stay healthy. Maybe you're overweight. What's interesting about this is, let me give you some statistics here. Worldwide, 41 million children under the age of 5 were overweight or obese in 2016. And over 340 million children and adolescents aged 5 through 19 were overweight or obese in 2016 as well. More importantly, more than 13% of the world's population that is obese is actually adults. Now, I'll give you a lot of statistics, but what we want to take home about this is obesity is actually preventable. It's preventable because what you're putting in your mouth and what energy expenditure you're doing on a regular basis is impactful on your health and if you get a disease or illness. I'll also mention later on too, it's not just those two factors of what you eat and also exercise. There's more to the story that we have to take into consideration. Now, here's some common mistakes. I'll focus mainly on chronic cardio and not eating enough protein. What I want to talk about not eating enough protein is most people, from what I've seen, aren't eating enough in their diet. Now, you've probably heard of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Those are all macros, right? The one that you want to focus mainly in this category is protein. I'll talk about how much you want and what you should be shooting for. And then chronic cardio, why this is a mistake is because chronic cardio, well, let's just look at this picture here. You've got the track and field runner and you've got the long distance or marathoner. Which of those two look healthy to you? And most people, when I show them this picture, say, well, of course, it's the track and field guy. He's muscular, low body fat percentage, and just looks really healthy compared to the more kind of skinny, and I don't want to say string bean, but that could be a description of that person. And there's also health benefits and downfalls to both of these. But ideally, just looking off of the picture, most people say they want to be the track and field, okay? Now, the chronic cardio, this is where people beat themselves up, right? I've eaten a bad meal, or I fell off the wagon, and then what do? They go onto the treadmill or the elliptical, and they beat themselves up. And they do it on a regular basis. You know, women are guilty of this, that they constantly do cardio, such as running, without even incorporating resistance training or weightlifting, which is super important. Now, some of the reasons why chronic cardio is a problem is because it creates systemic inflammation. It creates blood sugar problems known as hyperinsulinemia. Oxidative damage increases 10 to 20 times, not percent, 10 to 20 times more in chronic cardio being utilized. Increased joint pain, increased fatigue, increased cortisol or stress hormone, which we'll talk a little bit more about, Your muscle tissue can be destroyed over time. And then also you store more fat, not just the fat that you see on you, but we're talking about the more important stuff, which is the visceral or what surrounds your organs. That's important because that is really the main point when we talk about health. How healthy are you inside, not just outside of your body? And so this is where I come up with the blueprint, 3 secrets to speed up or accelerate fat loss and keep it off. We'll talk about mobility and how that's key, what to eat first and prioritize, and then recovery. Before we go into anything else, let's kind of talk about energy balance equation, because without understanding this, you're going to get and fall into the camps and categories that it's calories in, it's calories out. There's nothing else that you need to worry about. But it's way beyond food, and it's way beyond exercise expenditure. Yes, energy's in, and energy that you use out does change the body and where it stores fat. But it's an oversimplistic definition. So we have to take in consideration the thermal effect on food. So what I mean by that is carbohydrates, fats, and proteins all break down differently in the body. And you can actually utilize one more than the other because it actually uses a majority of the calories from that food that you eat to actually burn those calories when you take it in. It's called thermogenesis. So we have to take that in effect, the thermal effects of food and what they have, because it all has some type of effect on your energy balance. Okay, your physical activity, yes, has an impact, and then your resting metabolic rate. You need to know what you burn just at rest. And the other thing we want to note and talk about is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, N-E-A-T. So your activity to wash the dishes, to take the stairs, all that is energy that you're expending that needs to be placed into the energy consumed in order to understand how your body actually stores or burns fat. Now, I also want to note here that your results are not diet dependent. Now, diet's important and it's a big part of the equation, but I want you to put this into your mind that it's behavior dependent. The activities that you do is based off of your habits and your behavior. Lifestyle matters, not only for fat loss, but we're talking about health and overall wellness. All right, the first secret, mobility is key. Now, we do have to differentiate between what mobility is and what flexibility is. Okay, so mobility is accessing the full range of motion of each joint that's designed to have normal strength and control throughout the whole entire range of motion, versus flexibility isn't any of those things. Just because you can bend a certain way doesn't mean that you have good mobility. It has flexibility, but mobility not so much. You can have an unstable joint and be super flexible. The reason I bring this up is because mobility creates stability. So when you move properly joints of the body through their proper range of motion with the strength and control, it creates stability of that joint and tissues. And you also have surrounding tissues that are healthy as well, muscles, tendons, and ligaments. This is important because it oxygenates tissues like your muscles, and it draws away debris and waste. So it increases blood flow, and this is all important for healing and recovery, as we'll talk about more. The first thing I want to talk about under mobility is foam rolling dynamic mobility. If you're not doing foam rolling or myofascial self-release, you should be doing this, like in this picture down here in the right-hand corner. You should be doing these things because they can promote helping you to influence reducing stubborn fat areas by increasing local thermogenesis. So you actually increase blood flow to these areas, and you can actually utilize and break down body fats storages in certain areas. So foam rolling, that's one thing you need to do for sure. Dynamic stretching, this is here in the right-hand corner. You can see these are kind of like your pre-workout stretches that people do. And what's interesting that these help range of motion, but they also stimulate blood flow and that range of motion simultaneously, which helps prepare the muscles for physical activity. Research does show that when you do dynamic stretching before your training, it increases your athletic performance, which also means better fat loss as well outcomes. Now, the 30-60 rule to incorporate with your mobility. This is where research does show that when the body is sedentary for 30 minutes or more, and so 30 minutes is kind of the cutoff, right? Or the beginning stage. And this could be sitting or standing. Both of them are sedentary. Your fat burning genes and to regulate metabolism and blood glucose all actually get turned off. So how do you combat that? Because a lot of us are sitting or sedentary for more than 30 minutes. Well, this is where we came up with the 30-60 rule. So this is where every 30 minutes that you're sedentary, you do 60 seconds of some type of movement or exercise, right? It can be getting up and stretching or walking, air squats, push-ups, whatever it is, because you need to vary it up because it gets kind of boring if you don't, right? And the other thing I want to note here for the 30-60 rule is you could just do this and not have a gym membership and do any resistant training, which I'm not advocating. But if you just did that alone, I've seen and heard of cases where people actually lost fat and lost weight just based off more mobility. Makes sense. Now, I want to talk about how this ties to the most important part of you when you're talking about mobility is the structure of what helps you move, right? The anchoring point, which is your spine. Research commissioned by the British Chiropractic Association showed that 1/3 of people sitting over or spend over 10 hours of sitting down every day. This leads to damage to the musculoskeletal, so the muscles and the structure of the spine, and causes scar tissue to develop over the spinal joints of the spine. This is where degeneration can happen, and you don't even know it's happening because it doesn't produce a symptom, as well as this builds up in the soft tissue, such as your muscles. So I want to ask you, when scar tissue changes, or when scar tissues happen, it changes the information around that joint to your brain. And that perceived information goes from healthy and energizing to stressed and inflamed. Now, when your body is stressed, your muscles are going to be more stressed and tense, and they anchor to the structure of your spine. So it's not going to move as well. And so, that can then create problems in the future for injury or risk of injury while you're performing training as well. And this is why we're different in our office. We actually have a process called the neurostructural restoration process, which helps address this. All right, so secret number 2, what to eat first. I don't think it's really that big of a secret. We kind of talked a little bit about this. You need to prioritize protein first, high protein with every meal, because 30% of the calories that come from the protein that you take in gets utilized and broken down that meal. So literally you're expending or utilizing just 30% of the calories, up to 30% of the calories just from protein alone. This is what we call, it raises your metabolism. It's 3 times the thermogenic effect. Your body burns or uses these calories to burn or break down calories, right? It satisfies your appetite as well. So I dare you to try to overeat on protein. You won't be able to do it because it creates and stimulates what's called the satiety signal. Makes you feel full compared to carbohydrates or fats. This is by far the best macronutrient. It also improves insulin sensitivity. A lot of people are starting to be more well educated with what insulin is and sensitivity and resistance as well. I want to show you some research that I thought was really interesting is how this ties into if you are eating really good quality food and you're spending lots of money to maximize your fat loss goals or just be healthy, you want to utilize all the nutrients possible that you're taking in, right? So this is interesting. So research from 2007 revealed a connection between the structure and the function of the part of the spine, the neck, and the health of the digestive system. So what I want to bring up here is what we eat changes the expression of our genes on a cellular level, right? And so we kind of talked about that. If your body is stressed, then how well do you think you'll actually break down protein or break down the food sources? And the reason why that is because when your body is stressed, cellularly wise, it sends signals to all parts of your body. But we'll talk about muscles for a second, like we talked about before. They become more tense. If they're more tense, they anchor to the structure of your spine. how well do you think that's going to move? Because there's going to be compensations, weaknesses that happen. Then you're going to get a structure that doesn't move properly, starts to degenerate in the future, starts to degenerate and cause other issues. What's interesting, our approach in our office, which is very different, is we teach the strategies that supplement the work that we do to get the best results, optimizing your body through managing mental, emotional stress, nutritionally, what's best for the body to drive down inflammation and what we're best adapted to as humans, and also move by design. There's certain movement requirements that you need to get weekly. And then third, our last and final secret to fat loss is recovery. It's as important as what you eat and as your training. And I think a lot of people skip out on this point because they don't know the value of how important breaking down your body. You need to build it back up in order to continue to do this for weeks and weeks on end, if not for a lifetime, to be healthy. So all the work that you're doing to transform fat into muscle needs to be broken down frequently. Transform fat into muscle. It needs to frequently be focused on your recovery efforts. Okay. So my question to you is, when does your body do most of its recovery? Do you think it's right after your workout, before your workout, during your workout, a couple hours after your workout? It's actually when you sleep. And what's interesting about this is your sleep, what controls your sleep is your hormones. And what controls your hormones? Well, we need to talk about what influences them as a proper stress reduction pathway. And what do I mean by that? Well, basically, how do we downregulate the stress that we go through, whether it's training or the constant stress that we go through in life? And that's through the brain and the nerve system. Now, I bring that up again because the brain and the nerve system, that is protected by the structure of your spine. And so how do you know how healthy you are functioning, your hormones that is? You need to check your brain and your nerve system. So knowing the state of the health of the structure and what surrounds the brain and the nerve system, that's very vital and important. We talk about sleep, we got to think about its healing on a cellular level. So healing is a cellular recovery level, okay? So also, I want to bring up here, if you're not sleeping well, quality or quantity wise, if you sleep less than 7 hours a night, you literally wake up with an immune system that's impacted and downregulated or deficient by 30%. So you're only operating maybe at 70%, if at your best, when you wake up. So when you're in that state, how well do you think you're going to regulate your emotions and moods? What food choices you're going to make when you're stressed? How are you going to recover after your workout if you didn't get a good night's sleep? And this is all because your brain and your nerve system is stressed. You get the idea, okay? I can't stress enough that sleep is a huge, huge, huge thing that we really need to focus more on. I want to show you some interesting research. Motor control error happens, which results in temporary reduction in muscles that can cause rotation of a single joint where passive or other tissues become stressed or possibly injured. What's important to know here that these signals, when the body is stressed, can cause muscles to be stressed, and then those muscles can actually cause joints to not move properly, basically what this is saying, and then that causes irritation of other stress tissues and possibly can create injuries. So one of the ways to try to decrease your risk of injury during training or just in general in life is not to guess based off of how you feel, but to test. And you need to be testing on a constant basis of how well that structure is protecting the brain and the nerve system. And that's what we do in our office, but also that's what you should be doing, because then you'll know what you need to do in order for your maximizing your recovery efforts. All right, these are the 3 secrets to accelerate fat loss. Mobility is key. What to eat, protein, first, recovery. Now, I'm concerned at this point, let me stop this, not what you do some of the time, but what you do majority of the time. Because really consistency is the key for anything in terms of goals in life. For you, for financial, for relational, health's no different, okay? The reality is these secrets aren't secrets that are just going to help you with fat loss, but they will help you in other areas. But let me caveat that with this, that these alone will not help you to maximize or optimize your health or even your fat loss. These are just some of that story. Now, what I want to show you and bring up is this. If what you've heard here makes sense, you need to test and figure out your posture, right? Because that's a huge thing in terms of the structure of your spine and how that relates to your brain, your nerve system. This is why I want you to get this free self posture assessment, okay? This free self posture assessment is a take-home test. It's 3 tests. Take the test and then report back to us how you did. This is a good way to understand if there's a potential core problem with the structure of your spine and how it relates to your posture and so many other things that I'm not even noting besides fat loss, but more so in terms of recovery efforts and overall health. You need to know these things because your spine itself is a requirement, and your nervous system and brain needs to be functioning at its best, right? Okay. If you want this free posture assessment, all you need to do is get a hold of us, send us an email, and we'll get this to you. If you're ready and you're interested based off of kind of what we covered here tonight, and what you heard was interesting, I'm going to throw a $30 gift card for you, and that can be utilized for our comprehensive neurostructural examination if it's warranted. This is no strings attached. There's no deadline to use this. It's for you whenever you're ready to really dive deeper into taking on your health challenges and getting started to figure out just what's going on and not guessing. And if you want that, go ahead. You can email us, get a hold of us. I'll give you the information how to do that. Go ahead and follow us at Wellness Tree Family Chiro on Facebook or Wellness Tree Chiro on Instagram. Again, that's Wellness Tree Family Chiro on Facebook and Wellness Tree Chiro on Instagram. These are all great places to find valuable resources and information that will give you that's absolutely free. We post stuff all the time. So go ahead, follow us. And then if you want that free posture self-assessment test, here's my email or here's our website. Get a hold of us. We'll send that to you. And if you want that gift card, same place here. Get a hold of us or send us an email. Let us know. I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening. If any of this was valuable for you, again, I ask you to share this with family and friends or people that you care about and get this information. Go ahead, you have our information, get a hold of us. Until next time, make it a great day. I'm Dr. Trent Hippard. Talk to you soon.